Let me ask you something. What if I told you that you could have a garden overflowing with food, beauty, and abundance without spending hours weeding, watering, or worrying? What if I told you there are plants that you literally plant once, walk away from, and they just keep producing year after year with almost no effort on your part? Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. These plants exist. They're called set and forget plants, and they're about to change your entire approach to gardening. Because here's the truth. The gardening industry wants you to believe that growing food is hard, time-consuming, and complicated. They want you buying new seeds every year, special fertilizers every month, and fancy equipment every season. But what if you just planted the right plants once and never had to do any of that again? Today, I'm counting down the top 10 set and forget plants that every lazy gardener needs. And trust me, I'm the laziest gardener I know, so these plants have been tested and approved by someone who genuinely doesn't want to spend all day in the garden. Stick around because number 3 on this list produces more food than any annual vegetable, requires literally zero care, and most people have never even heard of it. And that bonus tip at the end? It's the secret to making any plant more set and forget than it already is. Let me tell you why I made this video. 5 years ago, I was working 60-hour weeks, barely had time to sleep, and my garden was a disaster. I'd plant tomatoes in spring, forget to water them, come back in August and find dead plants and zero harvest. I was wasting money on seeds and plants that died because I didn't have time to take care of them. Then an elderly neighbor, she was probably 80 years old, showed me her garden, and I was blown away. She had fruit trees producing heavily, berry bushes loaded with berries, perennial vegetables coming up everywhere, and she told me something that changed my life. Honey, I haven't planted anything new in 10 years. These plants just grow themselves. I pick food and that's it. That's when I realized I was gardening all wrong. I was fighting against nature instead of working with it. I was planting annuals that required constant care instead of perennials that take care of themselves. So I completely changed my approach, and now I have a garden that produces more food with less effort than ever before. This video is about sharing that knowledge with you. Whether you're busy, lazy, forgetful, or just tired of high-maintenance plants, these 10 plants are going to give you massive results with minimal effort. Before we dive in, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. I share lazy gardening tips every single week. Tips that save you time, save you money, and actually work in the real world where we don't have hours to spend babying plants. Your support means everything. Now let's jump into the list. Number 10. Daylilies, the indestructible edible. Starting at number 10, we have daylilies, and these are the ultimate set and forget plant for a reason. They're literally impossible to kill. Daylilies survive neglect, drought, poor soil, extreme temperatures, pests, diseases, and basically everything you can throw at them. They just keep growing. Here's what makes daylilies perfect for lazy gardeners. They're perennial. Plant once and they come back every single year for decades. Some daylily clumps are over 50 years old and still blooming strong. They multiply. Each plant spreads and divides naturally. One plant becomes 5 plants, becomes 20 plants. You'll have daylilies everywhere with zero effort. They're beautiful. Daylilies produce stunning flowers in every color imaginable. Yellow, orange, red, pink, purple, burgundy. They look like you're trying hard, even though you're not. They're edible. Here's what most people don't know. Daylily flowers, buds, and young tubers are all edible. The flowers taste slightly sweet and can be stuffed, stir-fried, or added to salads. The buds are a delicacy in Asian cuisine. You're getting food and beauty from one plant. Zero care required. Daylilies grow in full sun or partial shade. They tolerate any soil. Sand, clay, rocky, poor, doesn't matter. They handle drought once established. They have no serious pests or diseases. You literally plant them and forget them. The only maintenance daylilies might need is dividing every 5 to 10 years if they get too crowded, but even that's optional. Left alone, they'll just keep blooming and spreading. Plant daylilies along your driveway, around your mailbox, along fences, or anywhere you want color without effort. They'll make your yard look amazing while you do absolutely nothing. Number 9. Asparagus, the 20-year vegetable. At number 9, we have asparagus, and this is the ultimate lazy gardener's vegetable. Yes, it takes patience to get started, about 2 to 3 years before your first real harvest. But once established, asparagus produces for 15 to 20 years or more with almost zero care. Think about that math. You plant asparagus once, wait a couple years, and then harvest fresh asparagus spears every single spring for the next 2 decades. That's 20 years of food from one planting. Here's why asparagus is perfect for set and forget gardening. Perennial powerhouse. Asparagus is one of the longest-lived vegetables you can grow. There are documented asparagus beds that are over 100 years old and still producing. Early spring harvest. Asparagus is one of the first vegetables to emerge in spring, often before anything else. Fresh asparagus in April when nothing else is ready? Yes, please. Minimal care. Once established, asparagus needs basically nothing. It grows in full sun or partial shade. It tolerates poor soil, though it prefers decent drainage. It has few pest problems. The most care it needs is cutting back dead foliage in fall, and even that's optional. High value. Fresh asparagus at grocery stores costs $4 to $8 per pound. A mature asparagus bed can produce 10 to 20 pounds per year. You're getting $40 to $160 worth of organic asparagus annually from a plant you don't take care of. The key to success with asparagus is proper planting. Dig a trench, plant the crowns properly, and then just wait. That's it. After year 3, you'll be harvesting for decades. For lazy gardeners, asparagus is perfect because the patience required in the beginning is rewarded with decades of effortless harvests. Number 8. Rhubarb, the indestructible pie. Plant number 8 is rhubarb, and this plant is tougher than nails. Rhubarb survives freezing winters, hot summers, drought, poor soil, and complete neglect. It's one of those plants that actually prefers being left alone. Here's what makes rhubarb incredible. Lives forever. Rhubarb plants can live for over 20 years, some for 50 years or more. Plant it once in a permanent spot, and it'll outlive you. Cold hardy. Rhubarb actually needs cold winters to thrive. It grows in zones 3 through 8, making it perfect for northern gardeners where other perennials struggle. Early producer. Rhubarb is one of the first edible plants to emerge in spring. Those thick red stalks push up through snow and frost, ready to harvest by April or May. Continuous harvest. Once established, you can harvest rhubarb stalks from spring through early summer. The plant keeps producing new stalks as you harvest. One plant produces enough for multiple pies, jams, and desserts. Zero care. Rhubarb grows itself. Plant it, water it the first season, and then ignore it. It needs no fertilizer, no pesticides, no special care. It just grows. The only rule with rhubarb: never eat the leaves, they're toxic. Only eat the stalks. But the stalks are absolutely delicious, cooked with sugar into pies, jams, compotes, or even savory dishes. Rhubarb is one of those old-fashioned plants that every homestead and cottage garden used to have because it's productive, reliable, and requires no effort whatsoever. Number 7. Mint, the unstoppable herb. At number 7, we have mint, and calling this a set and forget plant is almost an understatement. The challenge with mint isn't getting it to grow, it's stopping it from taking over your entire yard. Mint is so aggressive, so vigorous, and so unstoppable that most gardening advice focuses on how to contain it, not how to grow it. Here's why mint is perfect for lazy gardeners. Grows anywhere. Full sun, partial shade, deep shade, mint doesn't care. Good soil, terrible soil, wet soil, dry soil, mint will grow. I've seen mint growing in cracks in pavement. Spreads like crazy. Mint sends out runners underground and above ground, spreading aggressively. One small plant becomes a massive patch within a year or two. This is perfect if you want mint everywhere with zero effort. Multiple varieties. Spearmint, peppermint, chocolate mint, orange mint, apple mint. There are dozens of varieties, each with unique flavors. Plant several kinds in different spots. Constant harvest. You can harvest mint leaves from spring through fall continuously. The more you harvest, the more it grows. Use fresh mint in tea, mojitos, salads, desserts, or dry it for winter use. Zero maintenance. Mint requires literally no care, no fertilizing, no pest control. Mint actually repels many pests. No watering once established. It just grows. The only caution, plant mint in containers or in areas where you don't mind it spreading. If you plant it directly in a garden bed, it will take over. But for lazy gardeners, that's often a feature, not a bug. I grow mint in large pots on my patio, in shady areas under trees where nothing else grows, and along fence lines. It fills spaces with zero effort and gives me fresh herbs all season. Number 6. Strawberries, the self-replacing fruit. Number 6 is strawberries, and these are one of the few fruits that truly qualify as set and forget. Strawberries spread by sending out runners that root and create new plants. Within a few years, one strawberry plant becomes a patch of dozens of plants producing fruit continuously. Here's what makes strawberries perfect. Self-propagating. Strawberries naturally multiply by sending out runners, long stems that root and make baby plants. You plant a few strawberries, and within 2 years, you have a full patch without planting anything else. Ever-bearing varieties. Choose ever-bearing or day-neutral varieties that produce fruit from late spring through fall instead of just one crop. Varieties like Seascape, Albion, or TriStar produce almost continuously. Ground cover. Strawberries form a thick mat that chokes out weeds. Once established, they require almost no weeding because they cover the ground so densely. Adapt to containers or ground. Grow strawberries in containers, hanging baskets, raised beds, or directly in the ground. They're incredibly versatile. Minimal care. Water regularly the first season, then they're drought-tolerant. No fertilizing needed if soil is decent. No pest control needed in most areas. Just plant and harvest. The value is incredible. Organic strawberries cost $5 to $8 per pound. A small strawberry patch can produce 10 to 20 pounds per season. That's $50 to $160 worth of berries from plants that multiply themselves. For truly set and forget strawberries, plant them in a dedicated bed. Let them spread naturally and just harvest berries. They'll keep coming back year after year. Number 5. Chives, the perennial onion flavor. At number 5, we have chives, and these might be the most underrated perennial in gardening. Chives produce fresh onion-flavored greens and beautiful edible flowers year after year with absolutely zero effort. They're so easy that they're almost weeds, except they're delicious, useful, and attractive. Here's why chives are essential. True perennial. Chives come back every single spring for decades. Plant them once and you have free onion flavor forever. Multiply naturally. Each clump of chives grows larger every year, eventually forming substantial patches. You can divide clumps and spread them around the garden or give them to neighbors. Continuous harvest. Harvest chive leaves from early spring through late fall by cutting them about 2 inches above the ground. They regrow within weeks. You get multiple harvests from the same plants all season long. Beautiful flowers. Chives produce gorgeous purple pom-pom flowers in late spring that are also edible. The flowers attract bees and beneficial insects, making your whole garden healthier. Kitchen essential. Use chives in eggs, potatoes, salads, soups, cream cheese, butter, garnishes, anywhere you want mild onion flavor. Having fresh chives steps away from your kitchen is incredibly convenient. Zero maintenance. Chives grow in full sun or partial shade. They tolerate any soil. They need no fertilizer, no pest control, no special care. They're virtually indestructible. I have chives growing in pots on my patio, in my vegetable garden, and along pathways. I use them constantly in cooking, and I've never once had to replant, fertilize, or do anything beyond harvesting them. For lazy gardeners, chives are non-negotiable. Plant them once and enjoy free fresh herbs for life. Number 4. Horseradish, the permanent spice. Number 4 is horseradish, and this plant takes set and forget to an extreme. Horseradish is so aggressive and persistent that the challenge isn't growing it, it's keeping it from spreading everywhere. But for lazy gardeners, that's exactly what you want. Here's what makes horseradish perfect. Indestructible. Horseradish survives anything: extreme cold, heat, drought, poor soil, neglect. It's one of the toughest plants you can grow. Some people call it a weed because it's so hard to get rid of once planted. Perennial roots. Plant horseradish once, and it keeps producing roots year after year. Harvest roots in fall, leave some in the ground, and they'll regrow for next year's harvest. Spreads, naturally. Horseradish spreads by root fragments. Any piece of root left in the ground will sprout a new plant. This means once you plant it, you have horseradish forever. High value. Fresh horseradish root at specialty stores costs $8 to $15 per pound. Growing your own gives you unlimited supply for free. Multiple uses. Fresh horseradish is incredible, spicy, pungent, and perfect for making horseradish sauce, cocktail sauce, adding to roasts, or mixing into mashed potatoes and dips. Zero care. Plant horseradish in spring or fall. Water it the first season, then forget it. It needs nothing. No fertilizer, no pest control, no watering once established. The only consideration: plant horseradish in a spot where you don't mind it spreading, or plant it in a large container to keep it contained. But honestly, for lazy gardeners who want a permanent supply of fresh horseradish, letting it spread is a feature, not a problem. Number 3. Jerusalem artichokes, the vegetable that grows itself forever. At number 3, we have Jerusalem artichokes, also called sunchokes, and this is the plant I mentioned at the beginning. It produces more food than any annual vegetable, requires literally zero care, and most people have never heard of it. Jerusalem artichokes are not actually artichokes. They're sunflowers that produce edible tubers underground, and these tubers are incredibly productive, nutritious, and ridiculously easy to grow. Here's why Jerusalem artichokes are amazing. Absurd productivity. One small tuber planted in spring will produce 5 to 10 pounds of tubers by fall. Plant 10 tubers and harvest 50 to 100 pounds. That's more food per square foot than potatoes, carrots, or almost any other vegetable. Truly perennial. Any tubers you leave in the ground will regrow next year. You can harvest most tubers in fall, leave a few in the soil, and they'll produce again next year without replanting. Forever. Grows anywhere. Jerusalem artichokes grow in full sun or partial shade, in good soil or terrible soil, in wet areas or dry areas. They're not picky. They just grow. Tall and beautiful. The plants grow 6 to 10 feet tall with bright yellow sunflower blooms in late summer. They make a beautiful privacy screen or windbreak while also producing food underground. Zero care. Plant tubers 3 to 5 inches deep in spring. Water occasionally the first season. That's it. They need no fertilizer, no pest control, nothing. They grow themselves. Nutritious. Jerusalem artichoke tubers are high in iron, potassium, and inulin, a prebiotic fiber. They have a nutty, slightly sweet flavor and can be eaten raw, roasted, mashed, fried, or added to soups. The only challenge with Jerusalem artichokes is that they spread aggressively. Once planted, they're hard to get rid of. But for lazy gardeners who want a permanent food supply with zero work, that's perfect. Plant them once in a corner of your yard, and you'll have free vegetables forever. Number 2. Fig trees, the drought-tolerant fruit machine. At number 2, we have fig trees, and these are hands down the best fruit tree for lazy gardeners. Figs produce incredible amounts of delicious fruit. They tolerate neglect better than almost any other fruit tree, and they actually prefer being slightly stressed, which means less watering and care. Here's why figs are perfect. Incredibly productive. A mature fig tree can produce 50 to 100 plus figs per season. In warm climates, you can get 2 crops per year. That's an insane amount of fruit from one tree. Drought-tolerant. Figs come from the Mediterranean where summers are hot and dry. Once established, figs need very little water. In fact, too much water makes the fruit less sweet. This is a tree that rewards neglect. Minimal pruning. Unlike apples or peaches that need annual pruning, figs need minimal pruning. You can shape them if you want, but left alone, they'll produce just fine. Few pests. Figs have remarkably few pest problems. Birds love ripe figs, but that's easily solved with netting if needed. Container friendly. Figs actually prefer being slightly root-bound, which makes them perfect for large containers. Grow them on patios, balconies, or in small yards. Delicious and valuable. Fresh figs sell for $6 to $12 per pound at farmers markets. Your tree produces pounds and pounds for free, and fresh figs taste nothing like dried figs. They're sweet, jammy, and absolutely incredible. Cold hardy varieties. Even in colder climates, zones 6 to 7, varieties like Chicago Hardy will produce figs. The tree might die back in winter, but it regrows and produces on new wood. I grow a fig tree in a large pot on my patio. I water it maybe once a week in summer, feed it once a month, and prune it once a year. That's maybe 2 hours of total care per year. In return, I get over 100 fresh figs every season. For lazy gardeners who want fresh fruit without effort, figs are unbeatable. Grootspruit number 1, Comfrey, the ultimate set and forget plant that feeds your garden. And finally, at number 1, we have Comfrey. And this plant is special because it's not just set and forget for itself. It actually helps all your other plants become more set and forget too. Comfrey is a large perennial herb with deep taproots that mine nutrients from deep in the soil and bring them to the surface in its leaves. Those leaves are packed with nitrogen, potassium, and trace minerals. And here's what makes Comfrey revolutionary. You can harvest the leaves multiple times per year and use them as free fertilizer and mulch for your entire garden. Here's why Comfrey is number 1. Deep roots. Comfrey roots go down 6 to 10 feet or more, reaching nutrients that other plants can't access. Those nutrients are stored in the leaves. Multiple harvests. Cut Comfrey leaves to the ground 3 to 5 times per season. They regrow within weeks. Each plant produces pounds and pounds of nutrient-rich leaves. Free fertilizer. Chop Comfrey leaves and use them as mulch around vegetables, fruit trees, or any plants. As they break down, they release nitrogen and minerals slowly, feeding your plants naturally. Comfrey tea. Stuff Comfrey leaves in a bucket of water for a few weeks to make Comfrey tea, a powerful liquid fertilizer. Dilute and use on any plants. Lives forever. Comfrey is perennial in zones 3 through 9. Plant it once and it lives for decades, possibly centuries. Once established, Comfrey is nearly impossible to kill. Zero care. Comfrey grows in full sun or partial shade. It tolerates any soil, including clay and rocky soil. It needs no fertilizer. It makes its own. No pest control, no care at all. Beneficial for wildlife. Comfrey flowers are loved by bees and pollinators. Having Comfrey in your garden supports beneficial insects. Here's how I use Comfrey. I have several Comfrey plants around my garden. Every month or so during growing season, I harvest leaves and spread them as mulch around my tomatoes, fruit trees, and berry bushes. The leaves break down and feed my plants naturally. I also make Comfrey tea once or twice per season for an extra fertility boost. Comfrey turns my garden into a self-fertilizing system. I haven't bought fertilizer in years because Comfrey provides everything my plants need. For truly lazy gardening, Comfrey is essential. It's the one plant that makes all your other plants easier to grow. Jasperitzia bonus tip. The secret to making any plant more, set and forget. Alright, here's the bonus tip that makes everything easier. The secret to set and forget gardening isn't just choosing the right plants, it's proper planting and mulching. Proper planting. When you plant any perennial, dig the hole twice as wide as necessary and amend with compost. This gives roots room to establish quickly. Water deeply the first season to encourage deep root growth. Once roots go deep, plants become drought-tolerant and self-sufficient. Mulch. Heavy. This is the game changer. After planting any perennial, cover the soil around it with 3 to 4 inches of organic mulch. Wood chips, straw, shredded leaves, anything. Mulch does 3 things. 1. Suppresses weeds so you don't have to weed too. Retains moisture so you don't have to water as much. 3. Breaks down slowly and feeds the soil naturally. Plants with deep roots and heavy mulch become truly set and forget. I mulch everything heavily, and it's cut my garden maintenance by 80% or more. Final thoughts. Work smarter, not harder. Here's what I want you to understand. Gardening doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to spend every weekend weeding, watering, and worrying. The secret is choosing plants that want to grow, plants that evolve to take care of themselves, and plants that reward your laziness with abundance. Every plant on this list will produce for years or decades with minimal care. They're proof that nature is generous when you work with it instead of fighting it. If this video helped you, hit that subscribe button right now. Share this with anyone who thinks gardening is too much work. Drop a comment telling me which of these plants you're most excited to try. And remember, the best garden is the one that grows itself while you do something more fun with your time. Thanks for watching, lazy gardener friend. Now go plant